Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Now What podcast. My name is Glenn Sharp. I am the president and CEO of Sharp Leadership Development. This is episode 5. If you've been following along with the podcast, you know this is all about my new book, Now What. It follows the journey of Johnny. Johnny is an amazing mechanic in the airline industry, and because he was so good at being a mechanic, they made him manager of mechanics. Now what? He has no idea what to do. He's never been a manager before. He's no longer turning wrenches. Now he is doing management tasks and he needs help. So I am coaching him in this book over the first 4 months to kind of make him compete with his peers and get him on a level playing field so that he can at least manage effectively. So often people will ask me, Glenn, specifically, how do I communicate with folks? How do I meet with folks? How do I articulate, especially with my direct supervisor? So we're going to focus today on communicating up because it's so important to make sure that you understand and are comfortable with how to meet with your boss and how to communicate with your boss. And you see over my shoulder, there's a concept called the birthday cake. I know it's funny looking. This is something that I created in one of my coaching sessions. So I want you to imagine on this image that there is a candle on the top layer. Right? The candle is what you want out of a conversation. Right? So unbelievably important to understand that. You never, ever go after the candle first if you want a successful outcome. You build your case from the bottom up. You lay a foundation of agreement, and then once you get agreement, then you get to the next level, and then once you get agreement there, then you go after the candle, right? So unfortunately, there's a lot of people that go after the candle first. Really hard to recover from that. I'm sure it's possible, but it's really, really hard to recover. So how does this look in the real world? Say, for example, you and your boss disagree on how to handle an employee, and your boss keeps interrupting, keeps involving himself or herself in the process. And you're starting to get frustrated and you need to have a chat with them, right? Imagine the foundation. The first question that you ask your boss is the following. Do you trust me? Because everything hinges on that answer, correct? Everything hinges on that answer. Do you trust me? If they say, no, I don't, then obviously that's a totally different line of attack, totally different conversation that you're going to have. But if they say yes, which they should say yes, now you built a foundation. Okay, you trust me. So the next level would be, do you agree that I know my employees better than anyone else and that I should be the one that manages them and that handles issues, right? Yes or no? And then, of course, they should say, yes, of course, you know them better. You spend a lot more time with them. I'm hardly ever with them. Right? So obviously, you're hoping for that. But if they say no, then that's a completely different conversation. We go down a completely different avenue. I think we all agree that that would be really weird if they said no. Right? So let's just say, for example, in this scenario that we're covering, that they say yes, right? So far they trust you. So far they say, yeah, you should be handling this, right? Because you know them best. The candle would be, can you please let me make the decision for my department, for my people? This is my individual. This is my person, my employee. I should make the decisions. I'm asking you to let me make the decision. Right? So that's how it would work. You'd build your case from the ground up. If your boss says, well, I don't want you to make the decision, then what happens is you go back to the foundation of agreements. And you say, I thought you trusted me. You said you trusted me. You said you agree that I'm the one who should be making the decisions. Now I'm asking you, let me make the decision. And that's how the foundation and works. That's how the concept works from the bottom up. But that's the birthday cake right there. Right? Unbelievably important, unbelievably simple when you think about it, but it's very important to understand it's the way you go about doing it. So why are we here at this bar? Well, bartenders do this all the time, and you probably don't even know this. I was at a bar one time, and there was an individual that was clearly intoxicated. And this bartender was very, very skilled. Apparently, this person has been around for a long time and understood human behavior, understood emotional intelligence, but also understood the birthday cake, even though they had no idea what the concept of the birthday cake is. So this particular person, it was closing time, and instead of demanding this person's keys, because he was clearly intoxicated and clearly had no business driving, instead of doing that and getting into an altercation with the patron, what this bartender did is literally say to them, "Hey, how's your family?" And they just started talking about family. And I was fascinated by this. He's like, "Oh, my little girl's doing good. My son's doing awesome." And basically they started talking about how important his family is to him, and how proud he was of them, and everything else around, your kids, and just how incredibly proud you are of their behavior and what they've become. And then the bartender slowly transitioned into, I saw a news story the other day where one of the family members was on television crying because his dad got into an altercation on the road. He didn't even bring up drunk driving. He talked about road rage and stuff like that. Again, it was very, very skilled the way he did it, but he talked about those kids growing up without a dad. Because the father in this news story got out of the car. Next thing you know, there was some sort of an altercation on the side of the road, and the person got shot and killed, all over something stupid, like having to hit the brakes and being cut off. And they started talking about that. And the interesting part about that conversation is the individual who's intoxicated literally looked at the bartender after a long pause and said, "I'm in no condition to drive. Can you call me a cab?" And the bartender said, "Yeah, give me your keys, man. I'll be happy to put it behind the bar. You don't want any altercation with the police. You don't want them to even think that you are attempting to drive. So give me your keys, and they'll be here. I'll make sure I let the manager know tomorrow." And the actual patron brought up the fact that he shouldn't be driving and volunteered the keys. When you think about it, very, very skilled, but the bartender did not, and I repeat, did not try to go after the candle first, right? They laid that foundation. The foundation was, you love your family, you love your kids, you're really proud of them. The second level was talking about being without your kids and putting that idea into his head and letting the patron actually come up with it on his own. Now, I'm sure if he didn't come up with it on his own, I'm sure the bartender had other tools at his disposal, but it was fascinating watching someone that skilled and that experienced with an intoxicated individual succeed. So let me give you another example that I think is kind of fun. Let's take something absurd. Like, say, for example, I say to a Fortune 500 CEO, I'm a consultant, I go in and I do it the exact wrong way. I say to them, "Can I have $500,000 to teach a class called Meaningful Conversations?" What do you think they're going to say to me in return? They're probably going to kick me out of the office because that's an absurd request, correct? But now imagine if I did it the way of the birthday cake and the methodology of laying a foundation first. Imagine if I said to them, "Do we agree that you have a massive turnover problem and it's costing you millions of dollars a year in costs?" "No, I don't agree with that, Glenn. What do you mean?" All right, well, let me show you the data. And of course, I'm going to come prepared. Right? You have 16,000 employees. Your turnover rate, based on your data here, is double industry average. It's at 16%. Right? I got with your COO and I asked them, "What's the average cost of turnover?" And they literally told me $40,000 per person. Right? Remember, this is a corporate office. That's if you do the math, $16,000, $40,000 per person. Right? At a turnover rate of 16%. Do the math. That's millions of dollars in turnover costs per year. Do we agree that you have an issue and it's costing you millions? Yes. Okay, great. Let's go to level 2. What do you think the number 1 and number 2 costs of turnover are? Number 1 and number 2 reasons why people leave are. And based on your data, okay, it is number 1, relationship with the manager, and number 2, career path. Do we agree that you've got an issue with your managers? They are not speaking to the people correctly. They're not managing them correctly. They're certainly not adhering to basic performance management skill sets, right? And by the way, they're not developing their people. Do we agree based on the data? Yeah, I agree with that, Glenn. Okay. So now we go after the candle. What if I could reduce that turnover rate below 10%? I want to offer a 2-year program called Meaningful Conversations. It's wrapped around performance management. I'm going to teach these guys how to do a performance appraisal. I'm going to teach them how to speak to their people throughout the year, give them tools and skills and abilities to be able to manage correctly. If I can get that turnover rate below 10%, can I have $500,000 to teach a 2-year class called Meaningful Conversations? What do you think they would say to me? Now, they might still kick me out of the office, correct? Because that's still a lot of money. But can we all agree that I just made their decision really hard? Again, even an absurd concept like $500,000 for a training program, you still build your case from the ground up. And I think we all agree that this would be a good sell. This would be a tough decision or a tough outcome for them to say no. Right? Remember though, with the birthday cake, if they question, like, well, tell me again why I need to do this, you go back to the foundation and you say things like, listen, you're losing millions of dollars a year in turnover costs. Right? That's why you want to invest in this over the next 2 years. Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. And then you go back up. Again, if you have disagreement, you go back to where you agreed, reestablish that foundation, and then work your way back up to the candle. So it works in many different areas, the birthday cake, and it works on just about everybody. It's just the right way to do things. It's the right way in the right order to have a conversation. And oh, by the way, this has been done to you. You probably don't even know it. If you are in any sort of sales situation, they use this on you. For example, if you go and buy a car, they don't ask you to buy the car in the beginning, do they? No, they have you fall in love with the car. They ask you lots of questions. What are you into? What are your interests? What are you looking for? They build their case from the ground up, and then it's not until they ask you to come into the showroom or into their office and let's sit down and talk about paperwork or talk about what it takes to get financing, things like that. Right? They build their case from the ground up, right? Just like you should when talking to your boss. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and the birthday cake. I think it's something that you need to practice and get comfortable with. If you enjoy this concept or other concepts, go ahead and get the book, right? It's available on Amazon, as you can see on the screen. It's available in paperback, obviously ebook, and soon to be Audible. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I wish you guys all the best of luck in your leadership and management journey, and stay tuned next week for episode 6.